Okay, Monday, March 4th, 2024. I'm on my way to the market. I tried to do this video earlier this morning on the way to the gym, but there's so many thoughts and everything, and it didn't come out right, so I'm going to try it again now. But, yeah, so I guess I'll just give you an update on the personal life. Yeah, the baby is 2 months old. She's having what's called colics, the crying like for reasons unexplained, mystery crying, because usually a baby cries for a reason, like dirty diaper, they're hungry, they want some attention, you know, too hot, too cold. There's like a whole list. But then there's this thing called colics where they just cry. And some theories are it's stomach gas, other theories are it's growing pains, other theories are it's baby migraines, you know, because their brains are going through all this rapid cell division. So there's like 1,000,001 theories, and there's really no cure or treatment. I mean, people say to give these drops and everything, but it's all snake oil. I talked to a doctor in America, and he said you just got to write it out. You know, that's really the best thing, because if you try those treatments, those could have long-term damage. You know, so yeah, I'm along. This one, nature wins. You know, nature gets 1 point, modern medicine 0 on this. But yeah, vaccines, modern medicine 1, and nature 0. Experimenting with your kid's life, not a good idea. So what do I want to talk about today? I want to talk about hang on, I gotta cross the street. That's the most dangerous thing we do here. I want to talk about today what do the Russians got on Trump? So this weekend I was talking to my old boss in Norway, the guy who hired me for my first job in Norway, and we got on this discussion about what did the Russians get on Trump? Like, how are they blackmailing him and basically getting him to be Putin's messenger? You know, I don't know if Trump is doing this of his own free will, maybe, but usually the way these things work, when the Russians get an agent or get someone compromised, they got some blackmail, they got something on them. That's the way usually espionage and, you know, getting informants and spies works, is through blackmail. I mean, it starts out giving them money, and then they turn that into a blackmail situation. Okay, you took money from us, you really weren't supposed to, now we can blackmail you. So when I searched up an AI, and also it's just stuff I remember from when I was young, you know, reading about Donald Trump. He's always had like an interest and fascination with Russia. You know, he was in Russia, you know, there was pictures of him with his first wife in Moscow, and there was a lot of talk back in the 80s and 90s that he wanted to build a Trump Tower in Moscow. And throughout the years, and I'll put all this in the comments, I'm just giving you the overview because I'm doing this all from memory. So over the years, he'd sold apartments to rich Russians, and you know, the Trump brand and the Trump bling and everything is quite appealing to Russians. They like that. They like that bombastic, you know, opulent, you know, gold, everything covered in gold look. So, you know, hang on, let me get out of here. It's like get run over. You know, it's a big thing you got to worry about here. So maybe along the lines, you know, and also I read that some Russian businessmen had helped him out in some of his business dealings where he was in trouble. And maybe somewhere along the lines there was some dirty money or state money, Russian state money, that was involved, or these contacts he had were actually Russian agents trying to groom him. I mean, the Russians did do a pretty good job of grooming Rand Paul. They got J.D. Vance, you know, on their side. And even Mike Johnson, that was a disappointment. So they have been using our open system against us. They have been investing in congressmen. And the Russians are very good at setting up front companies, and, you know, it's not that hard to get people in America. You can get them in through student visas. they get a job, they open up a business. And you got a lot of Russian people who've done this, so it wouldn't be surprising if some of them have a back channel to the Kremlin and are actually just fronts for getting Kremlin business, because the Russians will never beat America in a frontal war. They will never beat us on a battlefield. They won't even beat us in a nuclear war. So they have to beat us through, intelligence wars, getting their people elected. And that leads me to this other topic here, the border. What's going on the border with the U.S. and Mexico. And I got thinking, and I was talking to Stig, my boss from long back. Last year the Russians tried to rush the Belarus, or not the Russians, but the Belarusians, recruited a bunch of Arab males, told them, hey, this is your way to Europe. You come into Belarus and you can just walk into Poland and you'll get EU, you'll get a way to a life in an EU country. That's like the big dream. It's like going to America. It's the next best thing, if not even a more desirable path. And so there were a whole bunch of Arab men on the Polish border, the Belarusian-Polish border, rushing the border. And that was a big newsworthy event some years ago. Not even some years ago, I think that was just last year. And I think that was a warm-up for what we're seeing on the Mexican-U.S. border. I think the Russians are actually probably behind this, of sending trains and trains of migrants to the border and creating this crisis just in time for the U.S. presidential election so they can get their man elected. Because, we had incursions, but no one was bothered by it. But now it's really off the charts. It is a crisis. And I think the Russians fomented this. It takes like a great deal of organization to get people together, marketing, Facebook ads, whatever. I don't know how you reach those people, passing out flyers in a village. But someone's got to organize this. And they've got them all on the border. Then, of course, Trump will get elected and the Russians will stop doing that. It'll look like he saved the day. And then the Russians have got a friendly president in the White House. Someone who's pro-Kremlin. Someone who goes against everything America believes in. And, it is kind of like the Russians have done this in history. Like in Siberia, when they took over some of the Siberian provinces, what they would do, the Siberians wanted to be independent. And so the Russians started paying mercenaries to raid their villages and, cause chaos and mayhem, and just make life uncomfortable. And the Russians said, if you join our federation, we can provide you security. So of course, after years of, anarchy and uncertainty, of course, people are like, okay, whatever. I'll take the security. We'll join you, and you protect us. And that is a MO, modus operandus that the Russians have used throughout history to get compliance. They're the arsonist and the fireman, all in one. And so this arsonist and fireman tactic is something that they have used. And what does Russia stand for? Well, they definitely don't stand for free elections. Putin, they had term limits in the Russian Constitution. And guess what? Putin is still there. And that's all been eroded. They like to just roll into countries, but they don't rebuild them like America does, or at least attempt to rebuild them, and leave institutions behind. They really ruined the place. You should see what they did to Advika and Bakhmut, and they just completely flattened these places, kill the women, children, elderly people. They don't care. And that's, so all you pro-Russian Americans out there, or people that think that Russia is just some innocent bystander and the deep state is putting this all on, you're dead wrong. If anything, the deep state is like a group of people saving us from ourselves. Because, as in a democratic country, you can, a state actor or a billionaire can come in there and just give everyone a $300 check and buy their vote. And then they can sneak something in behind our backs. And you need a group of people to protect us basically from ourselves, from our own weaknesses that, you know, we have our short-term needs, you know, and we could take a small payout and then we lose big in the long run. So, you know, the deep state is probably this group, if it exists. It was designed to protect us from like the Russians or the Chinese or something that would use our freedoms against us. You know, so...
Slava Ukraine!
Yeah, Slava Ukraine. Yeah, okay, let me see if my barber is here. Oh no, it's not the usual. Well, I came here to make an appointment with my barber, but I think they changed it. I'll have to see. But yeah, anyway, that's all I got. You know, the Russians are not, you know, and Russia's candidate Trump is not offering anything better. I mean, they're creating this border crisis for Trump because he really doesn't have any other thing to stand on. That's my hair place where I get my hair cut in the background, but she's busy. I have to wait till she's done and then I'll go and make an appointment. But yeah, they don't. Trump doesn't have anything to offer other than a solution to the border crisis, which is probably manufactured by the Russians. And actually, this border crisis is a massive opportunity for us to fill labor shortages. I talked about that in another video, that there's tons and tons of labor shortages in rural America, you know, in places like Indiana and West Virginia and Tennessee, Alabama, Montana, in the service sector. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, that's on Biden, though, to use his executive action and fix this border thing. But I think it's a manufactured crisis. I think the Russians did it. They warmed up with Belarus using the Arab men to rush the Polish border. And they gave Trump his crisis so he can look like a savior. You know, he can save us from evil job seekers. You know, evil people just trying to find a better life. Yes, some criminals get through. But I don't think it's really, you know, yes, it's news. It makes the news when things happen. And it's tragic. But from a strategy point of view, do we sell out to the Russians to have border security? I mean, that's a solvable problem. There's got to be more pressure on the Democrats to fix that. But it is fixable. But selling us out to the Russians and changing the tone of our country, that's not fixable. That'll take a long time to undo. So, because everything else is fine with America. The stock market hit a record high. I think it's going to open today, and Nvidia and super microcomputer and all these great stocks are going to go through the moon. And by the way, I'm getting into CrowdStrike. I've been on Nvidia since 2017, but I'm now going to get into this other company called CrowdStrike. It's an IT security company using AI to protect systems against hackers. But this is not investment advice. This is just what I'm doing in my spare time and with my spare cash. So yeah, what else is... So there's plenty of jobs in America. Everyone's got a job. You know, yes, there's been some inflation. You know, cheeseburgers at McDonald's got more expensive. But as I told in previous videos, Americans are eating 3,800 calories a day when they only need 2,500. So food inflation is not even a real problem. That's just being hyped up. And that gas prices are going down. Overall inflation is starting to moderate. And yes, rents are a big problem in the big cities. Now, I've been looking at rents and housing, you know, but remote work has opened up so many possibilities. You know, you don't have to live in a big city. So I don't think inflation is really even anything Trump could win on, you know, because the economy is really strong in the U.S. That's why we're having inflation. Everyone's got a job and everyone's buying stuff. And Trump is like rooting for the stock market to crash, you know, and all this kind of stuff to give him a better position. But if Biden can do something with this border, I think he can cut out the support from Trump. You know, I think even his own party will eventually turn on him, because that is the only argument he has. You know, is this manufactured crisis, and I'm pretty sure the Russians are behind it, but it's impossible to prove. You know, and they have front companies, and they have their own people who've gotten into those South American countries legally as businessmen, as students, you know, as professors or whatever, and they have a side hustle to promote the Kremlin agenda. You know, that's, I have to turn around here, get better light. Yeah, I usually do these videos in the morning and the light's, you know, near the horizon, and now it's, you know, afternoon. So yeah, this is the soccer field and basketball courts. I think I made a video here last year. They cut the grass, and before this was all overgrown. But the basketball court is still, I'll have to show you this, it's still a mess. No, it's tragic. I mean, I don't know what's so wrong with people's lives that they think we have to sell out. You know, when I was back in America, things were booming. I mean, there was help wanted signs everywhere. You know, it was, everybody was working, everybody had nice new stuff. You pick up trucks all over Virginia Beach, you know, which is like Trump country, but everyone's lives are good. I don't know what crisis there was, you know. Yes, you always have people in America falling through the cracks, but I tell you what, those people, they're always going to have troubles. You know, there's always going to have troubles. You know, the oil and gas sector in America, that was the other one, you know, where they've cut out Trump support. So U.S. coal production is at an all-time high. U.S. fracking and oil production is at an all-time high. So it's like all the industries, ammunition industry is back. That's all stuff that usually happens under Republicans. But this has all been happening under Biden. It's been happening under Biden. And he's basically Reagan. I mean, Biden is basically giving us the Reagan economy, is the way I see it. You know, he's reviving the defense sector, you know, and he's pulling the European allies together. And yes, Trump has an argument that Europe can pay up and do more. But like in a previous video, I had discussed that Europe actually buys a lot of our bonds and takes the refugees. But they are paying up. They're getting better at it. There's more and more spending. We're reading about more arms deals to the European allies, and now they're doing joint exercises, and they're even looking at taking their own responsibility. So they got the message. We don't need Trump for that. You know, we don't need him in office. We can keep him on the sideline and let him banter, you know, but don't give him the keys to anything. You know, I don't want him to screw up this economy that we're in, or screw up the life that we're having. I mean, it's, you know, and I mean, what Biden has done to the Russians, it's amazing. I mean, it's like hardly spent any money, and it's destroyed half their war machine. I mean, their planes are falling out of the sky every day. We've really exposed them how weak they are. And now we got them having to worry about the Chinese, you know, and they're losing arms sales in India. Everyone's realizing that they just sell garbage. So Biden has done a lot more. And you got to remember, I voted for Trump twice, but I'm looking at facts. Biden has done a lot more than people are giving him credit for to weaken our enemies. I mean, the CHIPS Act with China, why didn't Trump do that? Banning the sale of these NVIDIA AI chips to the Chinese so we can get Skynet and they can't. You know, it's and now they're going to build all these chip factories in the U.S. It's all under bureaucratic hurdles, but at least the direction is moving right. You know, in 10, 20 years, the U.S. will be making all its own semiconductors. It just takes a while for the ship to turn around, but it eventually does. But anyway, that's all I got. You know, look at the facts before you vote. Look at your life. It's probably not that bad. Everything's probably going good. I don't think Trump can make it any better. You know, I mean, oil production is all off the charts. Coal production is off the charts. You know, nuclear power plants are coming back. You know, the only thing is the border. And I don't think he's the guy to fix it, really. You know, he won't keep his promise. You know, I think he'll just keep that crisis going so he can find more reasons to consolidate power. You know, so you got to be careful about who he's in bed with and why he got and how he got in bed with them. You know, where he got himself compromised. You know, but anyway, that's all I got.